They rejected you, pushed you away through patterns that made continuation impossible, withdrew when you needed presence, were emotionally unavailable when you needed connection, created distance when you offered closeness, said goodbye explicitly or through behavior that made goodbye inevitable. The rejection was real. Was them choosing their defended position over the relationship with you. Was them prioritizing their need for emotional safety over your need for partnership. Was them walking away from what you offered because accepting what you offered required vulnerability they couldn't access. They rejected the relationship with the empath, rejected you, and then, months or sometimes years later, they miss you. Not casual missing, not mild nostalgia about a past relationship, consuming, devastating missing that refuses to diminish with time. Missing that makes every new relationship feel insufficient. Missing that creates permanent comparison where everyone is measured against you and everyone falls short. Missing that haunts them during intimate moments with others. Missing that intrudes during random daily moments when something triggers memory of you. Missing that makes them dream about you regularly. Missing that won't resolve no matter how much time passes or how many people they meet. They rejected the Empath X, and now they miss the Empath X with intensity that makes the rejection seem impossible to understand. How can you reject someone and then miss them this desperately? How can you walk away from someone and then be unable to move past losing them? How can you choose to end it and then be destroyed by the ending? The answer reveals something crucial about avoidance psychology and about why the empath specifically, the patient, understanding, unconditionally accepting person, is the one the avoidant can't forget while other X's fade easily. Understanding why avoidants miss the empath X they once rejected reveals what the empath provided that no one else provides. Why the avoidant could only recognize this value after destroying it. Why the missing doesn't mean the avoidant has developed capacity to sustain relationship with the empath, and why the empath understanding they're unforgettably missed should use this knowledge to confirm leaving was right choice rather than to consider returning to someone who's missing doesn't equal readiness. The three unique qualities the empath provided that make them irreplaceable, why no one else compares. The avoidant doesn't miss every X equally. The empath is specifically, uniquely missed because of qualities that created environment the avoidant can't find with anyone else. Quality 1. The empath understood without requiring explanation, creating safety the avoidant experiences nowhere else, and can't recreate with people who need them to explain themselves. Throughout relationship with empath, the avoidant didn't have to explain themselves, didn't have to articulate why they withdrew. The empath understood it was protective response to feeling vulnerable, didn't have to justify their emotional unavailability. The empath understood it, stemmed from wounds that made vulnerability feel dangerous. Didn't have to defend their patterns. The empath saw the patterns and understood the origins without requiring extensive explanation. This understanding created safety, created space where the avoidant could be defended self without judgment, could exist with their limitations without constant pressure to explain or defend those limitations, could be understood despite being difficult to understand. The empath's capacity for understanding without explanation was gift, was rare capacity that most people don't have. Most people need explanation, need you to articulate why you behave the way you behave, need you to defend your patterns, need you to make your wounds comprehensible. But the empath didn't need this. The empath saw and understood, intuitively grasped why the avoidant was the way they were, accepted the defended position based on understanding where it came from. Now, the empath is gone, and every new person requires explanation, requires the avoidant to articulate things they can't easily articulate, requires defense of patterns that feel indefensible when stated explicitly, requires making wounds comprehensible to people who don't have intuitive grasp the empath had. The requirement for explanation that every new person has highlights what the empath provided through not requiring it. Makes the avoidant miss the empath because the empath created safety through understanding that no one else creates. The understanding was irreplaceable because it was rare capacity the empath had that most people lack. Quality 2. The empath accepted their defended position without requiring immediate change, providing patience no one else provides while waiting for transformation that never came. The empath not only understood, the empath accepted the avoidant's defended position, accepted their emotional unavailability, accepted their withdrawal patterns, accepted their limitations. The acceptance wasn't resignation. Was patient acceptance based on hope, the avoidant would eventually feel safe enough to transform. The empath accepted the avoidant as they were while believing they could become more. This acceptance created unique environment where the avoidant could exist without constant pressure to be different, without constant requirements to change, without constant criticism for being defended. The empath's acceptance said, I see who you are. I understand why you're this way. I accept you as you are, while hoping you'll eventually be ready to transform. This acceptance was patience most people don't have. Most people don't accept defended position indefinitely. Most people require change, require emotional availability, require reciprocity, require the avoidant to meet them halfway. Most people leave when acceptance period ends without transformation occurring, but the empath's acceptance lasted longer, was more patient, was more willing to wait for transformation that might never come. Now the empath is gone, and every new person requires change immediately. Requires emotional availability the avoidant can't provide. Requires reciprocity the avoidant isn't capable of. Requires meeting halfway when the avoidant can't move from defended position. The requirements every new person has highlight what the empath provided through not requiring. Make the avoidant miss the empath because the empath accepted defended position longer and more patiently than anyone else will accept it. The acceptance was irreplaceable because it was patience most people don't have and won't provide. Quality 3. The empath loved their wounded self, seeing and accepting the parts the avoidant hides from everyone else, creating intimacy despite the defending. The deepest quality, the empath loved their wounded self, not just their presented self, not just their defended self, their wounded self, the parts they hide, the parts they're ashamed of, the parts they don't show anyone. The empath saw these parts and loved them anyway, saw the wounds and didn't judge them, saw the defended position and understood it was protection for wounded self underneath. This seeing and loving of wounded self created intimacy the avoidant experiences nowhere else, created feeling of being truly known, truly seen, truly accepted despite everything. The avoidant shows defended self to the world, shows competent, capable, independent self, hides wounded self from view. But the empath saw through the defending, saw the wounded self, and instead of being repelled by the wounds, the empath loved the wounded self with tenderness and acceptance. This love of wounded self is what the avoidant can't find anywhere else, can't recreate with people who only see defended self, can't experience with people they don't let close enough to see wounded self. The empath was the only person who saw wounded self and loved it. Now the empath is gone, and the avoidant is back to showing only defended self, back to hiding wounded self, back to never being truly known, because truly being known requires someone seeing wounded self, and the avoidant doesn't trust anyone enough to show wounded self the way they showed it to the empath. The love of wounded self was irreplaceable because it was intimacy based on being fully known and fully accepted, despite the knowing. No one else has seen the avoidant the way the empath saw them. No one else will love wounded self the way the empath loved it. The missing is partly missing the only person who truly knew them and loved them anyway. Why the avoidant could only recognize the empath's value after destroying it, the timing that makes the missing. So cruel. The recognition of the empath's irreplaceable value arrives too late to benefit the relationship. Understanding why the timing is this way reveals something about avoidant psychology and about why the missing is permanent. Recognition requires loss. The avoidance defended system prevents them from seeing value while possessing it. Only absence makes value visible. During relationship, the empath's qualities were invisible to the avoidant. The understanding felt like standard behavior, not exceptional capacity. The acceptance felt like what anyone would provide, not rare patience. The love of wounded self felt like normal affection, not unique intimacy. The empath's exceptional nature was invisible because possession made it seem ordinary. The avoidant couldn't see what they had because having it made it background noise they didn't attend to. This is how defended system works. Defended system takes for granted what it has while having it, minimizes value of what's being provided, makes exceptional seem ordinary, makes rare seem common, makes irreplaceable seem replaceable. This minimizing serves the defense. If what you're receiving isn't that special, losing it won't hurt. If the person providing it is replaceable, you don't have to appreciate them. If the qualities are ordinary, you don't have to feel grateful. The defended system needs to believe these things to maintain defended position without guilt about taking for granted someone who's providing exceptional care. But loss changes everything. Loss makes invisible visible, makes what was taken for granted become obviously valuable through its absence, makes what seemed ordinary reveal itself as exceptional through no one else providing it, makes what seemed replaceable prove itself irreplaceable through inability to find replacement. The avoidant can only see the empath's value after the empath is gone, because seeing the value while the empath is present would require acknowledging how much they're taking for granted, which would create guilt that would threaten defended position. Loss allows recognition without guilt, because loss is already complete. The timing is cruel. The recognition that would have saved the relationship only arrives after relationship is destroyed. The seeing that would have created appreciation arrives only after the person being seen is gone. The timing reveals the defended system's fundamental limitation. It can't see value while possessing value because seeing would threaten the defense. Comparison is the teacher. Every new relationship reveals what the empath was through highlighting what everyone else isn't. After the empath, the avoidant dates, meets people, tries new relationships, and every new relationship becomes teacher. Teacher about what the empath was. Through showing what the empath wasn't. New person doesn't understand without explanation. Highlights that empath understood intuitively. New person doesn't accept defended position. Highlights that empath accepted patiently. New person doesn't love wounded self. Highlights that empath saw and loved. Parts the avoidant hides. Every comparison teaches. Teaches through contrast. Teaches through everyone else's insufficiency revealing the empath's exceptional nature. The teaching accumulates. First new relationship shows some differences. Third new relationship shows the pattern. 10th new relationship proves the empath was irreplaceable because 10 attempts to replace them all failed in the same ways. The accumulated comparisons create the recognition that the empath wasn't ordinary, wasn't replaceable, wasn't common, was exceptional, was rare, was possibly unique. The recognition through comparison is devastating because it proves something painful. They had something irreplaceable and destroyed it. They possessed something rare and took it for granted. They had someone exceptional and minimized them. The comparison-based recognition is what makes the missing so intense. Because it's not just missing someone. It's missing someone while knowing through extensive comparison that finding someone like them is possibly impossible. The missing is intensified by the knowledge, gained through failed attempts to replace, that what was lost was unreplaceably valuable. The missing intensifies over time. Unlike most losses that fade, the empath's absence becomes more painful as accumulated evidence proves their irreplaceability. Most losses fade with time. The pain is intense initially and diminishes gradually. Time heals. New experiences replace old. The X becomes distant memory that hurts less as years pass. But missing the empath doesn't follow this pattern. Missing the empath intensifies over time instead of diminishing. Gets worse with each year instead of better. Hurts more at year 5 than at month 5. Why? Because time provides evidence. Evidence through accumulated comparisons. Evidence through years of no one measuring up. Evidence through relationship after relationship, failing in same ways. Each failed relationship adds weight to the missing, adds proof that the empath was exceptional, adds evidence that finding replacement is impossible. The evidence accumulates. The missing intensifies. What should fade with time becomes more acute with time, because time is providing progressive proof that what was lost was irreplaceable. At 6 months after the empath left, the avoidant has tried maybe one new relationship. The comparison is limited. The missing is based on memory more than on evidence. But at 5 years, the avoidant has tried 10 or 20 new relationships. The comparisons are extensive. The missing is based on accumulated evidence that proves memory was accurate. The empath was as exceptional as memory suggests, because no one else has matched what the empath provided. The intensifying is the cruel part, the part that makes this loss different from other losses. Other losses hurt most acutely at first and heal over time. This loss hurts more over time because time provides evidence through comparison that makes the loss feel more significant with each year that passes without finding replacement. The specific ways the missing manifests. In the avoidance daily experience, what being unforgettable actually looks like. The avoidance missing of the empath isn't abstract. It manifests in concrete daily experiences that make the empath's absence a permanent feature of the avoidance psychological landscape. They reach for the empath during difficulties. Automatic response during hard moments is to want the empath's specific understanding, creating recurring grief when they remember the empath is gone. Crisis happens. Difficult moment occurs. Emotional struggle arises, and the avoidant's first thought is, I want to talk to the empath about this. The reaching is automatic, isn't conscious decision, is a habitual response that was created during relationship when the empath was the person the avoidant turned to during difficulties. The empath understood, made difficulties feel manageable, provided comfort without judgment. The pattern of reaching for the empath during hard times became automatic, became wired into the avoidance system, and the wiring persists after the empath is gone. So difficulties trigger automatic reach. Reach that meets with absence. With remembering the empath isn't there anymore. With grief that the person they want during hard moments is person they rejected and lost. The recurring cycle, difficulty, triggers automatic reach for empath. Reach meets absence. Absence creates grief. Is daily experience of missing. Daily reminder of the loss. Daily evidence of the empath's irreplaceability through the fact that difficulties still trigger, wanting specifically the empath's understanding even years after the empath is gone. The reaching that meets absence is one way the missing manifests. One way the empath stays present in the avoidance daily life through their absence being felt every time. Difficulty triggers the automatic reach for person who isn't there. They compare intimate moments to intimacy with the empath. Every new partner is measured against the standard the empath set, creating perpetual disappointment that no one matches the empath's capacity for understanding. New relationship, intimate moment, vulnerable conversation, and the avoidant is comparing this person to the empath, this intimacy to intimacy with the empath, this understanding to the empath's understanding. The comparison is automatic, isn't mean-spirited or intentional, is just what happens when someone has experienced exceptional intimacy. All future intimacy gets measured against the exceptional standard. The empath created standard, created it through understanding that didn't require explanation, through acceptance that was patient, through love that saw and accepted wounded self. The standard is the comparison point every new intimacy gets measured against, and every comparison produces same result. New person falls short, doesn't understand the way the empath understood, doesn't accept the way the empath accepted, doesn't see and love wounded self the way the empath saw and loved it. The perpetual falling short creates disappointment, creates sense that every new relationship is settling, is accepting less than what the empath provided, is making do with insufficient intimacy because the intimacy that was sufficient, the empath's intimacy, is no longer available. The comparing that produces disappointment is second way missing manifests. Second way, the empath stays present through being the permanent standard that makes everyone else feel insufficient by comparison. They dream about the empath with disturbing frequency, unconscious processing of the loss that won't resolve, creating dreams that are vivid enough to feel real and painful enough to create daily grief upon waking. The dreams come regularly, weekly or nightly, depending on how recently something triggered thoughts of the empath. Dreams where the empath is present, where relationship is restored, where the rejection never happened, where they're together again. The dreams are vivid. Feel real while dreaming. Create moments of believing the empath is actually back. Then waking arrives. Reality crashes in. Recognition that it was dream, that the empath isn't actually there, that the relationship isn't actually restored, that they're alone without the person the dream presented as present. The crash from dream to reality is devastating, creates grief every time. The regularity of the dreams reveals the depth of the missing, reveals that the empath occupies the avoidance unconscious mind, that the loss is unprocessed at deep psychological level, that years after the ending, the avoidance mind is still trying to restore what was lost through creating dreams where the empath returns. The dreams that won't stop are third way missing manifests. Third way, the empath stays present through the avoidance unconscious, repeatedly attempting to restore the relationship through dreams that feel real while dreaming, but produce grief when waking reveals the restoration was illusion. They monitor the empath's life from distance, checking social media compulsively, asking mutual friends for information, needing to know the empath is doing while knowing the knowing prevents their moving on. The monitoring is compulsive. checking the empath's social media, not occasionally, regularly, daily or multiple times daily, seeing what the empath is posting, who they're with, what they're doing, whether they seem happy, whether they've moved on, whether they ever reference the avoidant or show any signs of still thinking about the relationship. The checking serves multiple purposes. Serves need to maintain some connection to the empath through knowing about their life. Serves hope that maybe the empath isn't completely moved on. Serves fear that the empath is thriving without them in ways that prove the avoidant wasn't essential. The checking is compulsive because the avoidant knows they should stop, knows the monitoring prevents their moving on, knows that keeping the empath present through tracking their life is what makes the empath impossible to forget. But they can't stop checking, can't stop needing to know, can't stop maintaining connection through monitoring, even though monitoring prevents healing. The compulsive monitoring is fourth way missing manifest. Fourth way, the empath stays present through the avoidant's inability to stop tracking the empath's life, even years after the relationship ended. The uncomfortable mirror turn, if you're the empath. Reading this, ask why you need to know they miss you. But if you're the empath reading this, examine why you need to know the avoidant misses you, why their missing matters to you, why understanding that you're unforgettable to them holds significance. Because if you've genuinely moved on, if you're genuinely building life without them, if you're genuinely healed from what the relationship cost you, whether they miss you or not, should be completely irrelevant to you. You shouldn't care that they're comparing everyone to you. Shouldn't need to know you're unforgettable. Shouldn't be seeking validation through their suffering or through their inability to move past you. The fact that they're missing you matters reveals you're still seeking something from them, still needing their recognition of what they lost, still using their missing you as measure of your value, still partially hoping their missing you means they'll come back transformed and worthy of you. This need means you haven't fully let go, haven't fully healed, haven't fully moved on to building life where their internal experience of having lost you is background noise you don't track. Real moving on means you don't care if they miss you. Don't need to know you're unforgettable. Don't track their response to having lost you because you're too busy building to care about their experience of the loss. Their missing you doesn't benefit you, doesn't serve your healing, doesn't improve your life. Your freedom from them benefits you enormously, serves your healing completely, improves your life dramatically. Stop needing to know they miss you. Stop seeking validation through their suffering. Stop organizing mental energy around whether they recognize what they lost. Build life so extraordinary that whether you're unforgettable to them becomes completely beside the point because you're too busy being yourself to care about your status in their memory or their heart. That's when you're actually free, not when you know they can't forget you. When you don't care whether they forget you or not because their thoughts about you are completely irrelevant to your thoughts about your own life. Why the missing doesn't mean the avoidant is ready for relationship with the empath. The difference between feeling and capacity. The avoidant missing the empath intensely creates compelling narrative that maybe reconciliation is possible, but understanding why missing doesn't equal readiness protects the empath from mistaking crisis for capacity. They miss what the empath provided, not who the empath is. The missing is self-focused rather than relationship-focused, about loss of service, not loss of person. Listen carefully to what the avoidant misses. They miss the understanding, miss the acceptance, miss the love of their wounded self, miss how the empath made them feel, miss what the empath provided. All of this is about what the empath did for them, what the empath gave them, how the empath served them. The missing is self-focused, is about what they lost access to, about the benefits that are gone, about their loss. Not about the empath as whole person they now recognize they should have valued. Not about regretting how they treated someone who deserved better. Not about seeing the empath's worth independent of what the empath provided to them. The self-focused nature of the missing reveals its not readiness for relationship. Readiness for relationship would involve recognizing the empath as whole person with needs that deserve meeting, would involve regretting the patterns that prevented meeting those needs, would involve understanding that relationship requires reciprocity, not just receiving the empath's exceptional care. But the missing is about what they lost, not about what they failed to give, about their deprivation, not about their previous failure to reciprocate. This self-focus means the missing is about wanting to restore access to what the empath provided, not about being ready to provide what the empath needed. The distinction is crucial. Missing what someone provided you doesn't mean you're ready to provide for them. Wanting back what you lost doesn't mean you've developed capacity to honor what you'd be getting back. The missing is intense because the empath is gone. If the empath returned, the intensity would fade as familiarity made exceptional seem ordinary again. The intensity of the missing is partly about the absence, about the permanent inaccessibility, about the knowing they can't have back what they lost. The intensity is crisis response to permanent loss. But what would happen if the empath returned? If the crisis of loss was resolved through the empath giving them another chance? The intensity would fade. The missing would dissipate. The exceptional would become ordinary again through familiarity. The pattern that made them take the empath for granted the first time would resume. They'd stop seeing the empath's value once the empath was present and available again. The defended system would minimize the exceptional nature, would make rare seem common, would make the empath's qualities invisible through possession, making them background noise again. This is the trap. The intensity of missing creates illusion that they finally value the empath enough to honor the empath if given another chance. But the intensity is crisis response to loss. Once loss is resolved through return, crisis ends. With crisis ending, the intensity that created the valuing ends. The empath becomes taken for granted again, because the defended system returns to its baseline of minimizing value while possessing it. The intensity, while absent, doesn't predict sustained appreciation while present. Predicts only that absence creates crisis that makes value visible temporarily until presence makes value invisible again. Missing proves the empath was valuable, not that the avoidant has developed capacity to reciprocate value. Recognizing worth after destroying it doesn't mean being capable of honoring worth if restored. The missing proves something important. The empath was valuable, was providing something exceptional, was irreplaceable in ways the avoidant only recognized through extensive failed attempts to replace them. This proof matters. Validates the empath, confirms the empath wasn't wrong about their worth, confirms the problem was the avoidant's inability to see worth, not the worth not existing. But the proof that the empath was valuable doesn't prove the avoidant has developed capacity to reciprocate that value. Recognizing after loss that someone was valuable doesn't mean being capable of honoring their value if they return. The recognition is cognitive, doesn't reprogram nervous system, doesn't heal attachment wounds, doesn't create capacity for vulnerability, doesn't develop ability to reciprocate. The avoidant can recognize the empath was exceptional and still be incapable of reciprocal partnership, can miss intensely and still be unable to provide emotional availability, can understand what they lost and still be too defended to honor what they'd be getting back if the empath returned. Missing is feeling. Capacity is ability to act on the feeling in sustained reciprocal way. The avoidant has the feeling. The missing proves the feeling is real. The feeling doesn't prove the capacity exists. Most avoidants miss the empath intensely while remaining incapable of the partnership the empath would need. The missing doesn't predict readiness, just predicts permanent recognition that came too late. What the empath should do with the knowledge that they are unforgettably missed, using the information correctly, understanding that the avoidant permanently misses the empath X should inform the empath's choices in specific ways that serve the empath's healing rather than pulling the empath back toward someone who's missing doesn't mean readiness. Use the missing to confirm leaving was right choice. If someone can only value you after losing you, they weren't capable of relationship that would have served you. The avoidant misses you intensely, permanently. This missing proves you were valuable, proves you provided something exceptional, proves you were irreplaceable. Use this proof, not to return to them, to confirm leaving was right choice, because the timing reveals everything. They couldn't value you while having you, could only value you after losing you, couldn't see your worth while you were present, could only see it after you were gone. This timing proves they weren't capable of relationship that would have served you, weren't capable of valuing you in real time, weren't capable of appreciating what you provided while you were providing it, weren't capable of reciprocal partnership where your worth was recognized while you were present to benefit from the recognition. Someone who can only value you after losing you is someone who would take you for granted if you returned, would minimize your value once you were present again, would fall back into defended position that makes exceptional seem ordinary and rare seem common. The missing confirms leaving was right choice, confirms that staying would have meant continued unreciprocated giving, confirms that someone who needs loss to recognize value isn't someone who can sustain honoring value while possessing it. Use the missing to validate your leaving, to confirm you were right that relationship didn't serve you, to eliminate any remaining doubt about whether you gave up too soon. You didn't give up too soon. You left someone who wasn't capable of valuing you while having you. They're missing you after you're gone proves you were right to leave someone who couldn't value you while you were present. Recognize missing doesn't obligate return. Their suffering from consequences of their patterns doesn't create your responsibility to relieve suffering by accepting them back. They're missing you. Suffering from the missing. Experiencing permanent grief about having lost you. This suffering is real, is genuine, is consequence of their patterns that rejected what you offered, and the suffering doesn't create your obligation to relieve it. Doesn't mean you should return to make them feel better. Doesn't mean their pain about losing you creates your responsibility to restore their access to you. Their suffering is consequence, natural result of taking for granted someone whose value only becomes visible through loss. Let them sit with the consequence, not because you're cruel, because consequence is what teaches, is what creates motivation for genuine transformation, is what might, if they're capable, drive them to finally do the therapeutic work that would create capacity they didn't have. Relieving their suffering by returning eliminates the consequence, eliminates the motivation for transformation, teaches them that missing you intensely enough brings you back without requiring them to become capable of reciprocal partnership. Your obligation isn't to their comfort, is to your well-being. Your well-being requires staying with someone capable of valuing you in real time, capable of reciprocating what you give, capable of appreciating what you provide while you're providing it. The avoidant wasn't capable during a relationship. They're missing you doesn't prove capacity developed, proves only that they finally recognize what they lost. Recognition without demonstrated sustained capacity isn't sufficient reason to return. Let them miss you. Let the missing be permanent. Let them live with the consequence of having rejected someone who turned out to be irreplaceable. That's appropriate. That's what consequences are for. Your obligation is choosing yourself, not relieving their suffering. Find someone who recognizes worthwhile having access to it. You deserve real-time appreciation, not belated recognition that comes too late to benefit the relationship. The avoidant misses you. This proves you're capable of being an exceptional partner, capable of providing understanding, acceptance, love that's rare and valuable. Use this knowledge, not to return to person who only recognized your worth after losing you, to find person who can recognize worth while having access to it. Find someone who sees your exceptional nature while you're present, who appreciates your understanding while you're providing it, who values your acceptance while they're receiving it, who loves all of you, including wounded parts, while in relationship with you, not just after losing relationship with you. You deserve real-time recognition, deserve someone whose defensive system doesn't minimize your value while possessing it. Deserve partner who can see what they have while they have it and honor it through reciprocal care. The avoidant proved they can't do this. Proved they need loss to recognize value. This proof is information. Information about their limitation, not information about your worthiness. Your worthiness is confirmed by the intensity of their missing. Their limitation is confirmed by the timing of their recognition. Use the confirmed worthiness to find someone without the limitation. Someone who won't take you for granted, because someone who has developed capacity for secure attachment can recognize value in real time, can appreciate exceptional while experiencing it, can value you while you're present. That's what you deserve. That's what the knowledge that you are unforgettably missed should teach you. Not that you should return to person whose missing proves they finally recognize your worth. That you should find person who recognizes your worth from the beginning and honors it consistently while you're present to benefit from the honoring. The avoidant missing you is evidence you're capable of being an exceptional partner. Take that evidence and give it to someone who can appreciate exceptional partnership while experiencing it, not someone who only appreciates it after destroying it. The permanent truth about why avoidants miss the empath X they once rejected. They rejected the empath, pushed away the understanding, the acceptance, the love of wounded self that the empath provided, chose defended position over partnership, chose emotional safety over reciprocal relationship, rejected what the empath offered because accepting it would have required vulnerability their wounded system couldn't access. The rejection was real, was them choosing their defense over the relationship, and now they miss the empath, miss them desperately, permanently, in ways that won't resolve with time or with new relationships or with any amount of distance from the ending. The missing is intense because the empath was exceptional, provided understanding without requiring explanation, provided acceptance without requiring immediate change, provided love of wounded self that no one else provides. The missing is permanent because comparison proves the empath is irreplaceable. Every new relationship highlights what the empath was through showing what everyone else isn't. The missing intensifies over time because accumulated evidence proves the empath's exceptional nature wasn't just memory, but was reality that no one else matches. The missing is real. The missing is devastating to them. The missing is permanent feature of their psychological landscape. And the missing doesn't mean they're ready for relationship with the empath. Doesn't mean they've developed capacity to reciprocate what the empath provided. Doesn't mean reconciliation would succeed where original relationship failed. The missing is about what they lost, not about their readiness to honor what they'd be getting back. It's about recognizing value too late, rather than about being capable of reciprocating value if given another chance. Is intense because the empath is gone, not because the avoidant has transformed into someone capable of sustaining relationship with the empath. They miss the empath X they rejected. This missing should confirm for the empath that leaving was right choice, should validate that the empath was providing something exceptional that deserved reciprocation, should prove that the problem was the avoidant's capacity, not the empath's worth. The empath should use this knowledge not to return, but to find someone who can recognize exceptional partnership while experiencing it, not someone who only recognizes it after destroying it. The avoidant will miss the empath permanently. The empath should build permanently in life. That doesn't include someone who's missing, however intense and genuine, doesn't mean capacity exists for the reciprocal partnership the empath deserves. They rejected you. They miss you. Both are true. Both are permanent. Only their missing you should matter to your healing, as validation that you are valuable, not as reason to return. Use the validation. Build in the freedom. Find someone who won't need to lose you, to recognize what you're worth. That's the truth. That's what the avoidance permanent missing of the empath X should teach. Not that you should go back, that you should move forward, knowing you're capable of exceptional partnership and you deserve someone who can reciprocate exceptional partnership while experiencing it. The avoidant can't do this. Their missing you proves it. Move forward accordingly. Build accordingly. Love accordingly, with someone who recognizes your worth in real time, not someone who only recognizes it too late.